Good day, everyone. My name is Adam Livingston, and I am the Bitcoin Wizard. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel in order to support my mission in spreading the orange gospel to the masses. Thank you very much for helping me out with the algorithm, my dearest little family. I love you all. So as I'm sure that you're all aware, the global financial system is an endgame dungeon, and at the deepest level sits Larry Fink. Yes, that Larry, the $10 trillion final boss of TradFi. For a decade, he has hurled fireballs at Bitcoin, called it a money laundering side quest, and guarded the Fiat treasure chest like Smaug in a Patagonia vest. But on September 25th, 2025, yes, yesterday, the dragon did something extraordinary. He minted a brand new Delaware trust christened the iShares Bitcoin Premium Income ETF. The filing literally says, we're holding spot BTC and selling covered calls on CME futures to milk volatility for cash. So let that sink in, folks. The high priest of index funds now wants to turn magic internet money into a boomer-friendly monthly paycheck. It's like Gordon Gekko discovering kale smoothies, proof that the apocalypse is nigh, or at least that Bitcoin has won the culture war. So when Larry, the avatar of every 401k on planet Earth, decides that Bitcoin is not just digital gold, but a yield-bearing cash machine for retirees in Boca, the conversation is suddenly shifting. The question is no longer if Bitcoin fits in a portfolio. The question is now how many basis points of option premium you can wring out of it before brunch. So welcome to the premium income era where TradFi's final boss grabs a laser eye power-up and joins the raid. So here's a quick reality check before the hopium kicks in. $84.3 billion, the gravity well, that number that you see is the mountain of money of IBIT's assets. That has been piled up since January 5th, 2024. $84.3 billion parked in a single crypto asset after regulators spent a decade calling Bitcoin a get-rich-slow Ponzi scheme. Now Larry's spot fund has soaked up more cash than the GDP of Madagascar, so now the message is pretty obvious. Clients do not want your sleepy bond ladder anymore. They want laser-eyed exposure protected by Blackrock'S trademarked legal force field. 75 days is the magic clock here. The SEC has finally discovered the fast forward button, so on September 17, 2025, it approved generic listing standards that collapse review times to 75 days. That is roughly the same time that you endure for DMV vanity plates, yet with trillions in potential downstream flow. Wall Street's regulatory moat now has a drawbridge, and BlackRock knows that the first movers get the juiciest tolls. This is a bit of a prediction, a $3 billion opening bid. If just 3 to 5% of IBIT holders swap into a covered call flavor, you score $3 billion in day one assets. For perspective, that beats the first year haul of the most thematic ETFs by a factor of 10, and it lands enough seed capital to run a Coinbase custody bill that looks like the defense budget of a very small nation. Yield-hungry advisors are basically Pavlovian. Ring the distribution bell and they will sprint. And then there's just a domino forecast coming, kids, because once this thing lands, every other issuer is going to scramble to release a clone of this ETF. You need to expect the incoming crypto income subsector inside 12 months. So think QYLD, but the underlying is digital gold instead of dreams of tech bros. The race is going to begin once the moment Larry's 75-day stopwatch starts ticking. So in plain English, kids, yes, in the plainest of English, we have 84 billion proving demand, 75 days unlocks the door, and 3 billion is the low-end loot chest waiting on the other side. BlackRock is not launching a novelty ETF like the 2x daily levered Melania coin ETF. It is building a Bitcoin annuity machine for boomers who still think a hash rate is something that you order at Waffle House. Welcome to the basement of the Death Star where the paperwork lives. We need to talk registration framework, the Kevlar of finance. BlackRock is slotting this beast under the Securities Act of 1933, the same legal armor that IBIT wears. That trust wrapper keeps the SEC comfy, it keeps the litigators on retainer, and it gives retail investors the warm feeling of federally certified handrails. Mr. Larry is not reinventing the wheel here, he is spray painting a Bitcoin logo on the same chassis that already holds 80+ billion in Bitcoin. When it comes to custody, losing keys is a felony at this scale, so Coinbase Custody currently babysits more than 4 out of 5 of the US crypto ETFs. They run SOC1 audits, multi-sig cold vaults, and biometric door locks that look like props from Mission Impossible. So given that IBIT already sleeps in Coinbase's cold warehouse, odds are that the new premium income fund will bunk there too. No one wants to explain a lost seed phrase to a pension board. Then there's going to be a bit of a fee structure, of course. IBIT charges 25 basis points, which is cheap enough to make Vanguard blush, but the covered call option will not be that low. Option desks, market makers, and complex distribution pipelines cost real coins, so a sponsor fee between 60 and 95 basis points is somewhat realistic. That is still a lot cheaper than most managed equity funds, yet rich enough to keep the lights on at BlackRock's crypto war room. So bringing this all together, the risk-reward cocktail is we're stacking an SEC-friendly trust, adding Coinbase cold storage, sprinkling in a sub 1% fee probably. You're going to get a product that looks institutional, feels retail, and spits out cash like a Vegas slot machine on senior discount night. The lawyers are going to sleep soundly, the quants are going to stay caffeinated, and your grandma finally owns yields-bearing Bitcoin without downloading a wallet or spelling Satoshi. All right, finance nerds, put on your hazmat gloves because we're popping the hood. Number one, they're holding spot Bitcoin. That is the first order of business. You need to shove real Bitcoin into a cryogenic vault so cold that it would give Elsa hypothermia. 1-for-1 exposure, keys locked up tighter than Fort Knox, no paper promises, no rehypothecation circus. This is the raw ingredient to this ETF, 24 karat raw digital gold just sitting there waiting to be monetized. The fund will sell call options on CME Bitcoin futures, basically renting out upside to gamblers, which in my opinion, the coverage band should be roughly 30 to 50% of the stack each month. That means half the coins have moonshot potential, the other half moonlight as an ATM. Some of my predictions here, the strikes may be 10% out of the money. So if coin rips 50%, you can still party, but the first 10% of fireworks will buy grandma a dividend. In step 3, after they sell the covered calls and you pay them the fee, you collect the premium. Those option premiums are straight into the cash hopper. You're going to be milking Bitcoin's legendary volatility. Every twitch in price squeezes out a few more basis points of yield. The desks will skim its expense latte, yet the rest is wired to shareholders as cold, hard fiat. A surreal reversal where crypto funds your golf habit. And then step 4 is just roll and repeat. Options expire, no sweat. Every third Friday, the machine hits refresh. Close old calls, open new ones, and keep the income river flowing. It's like changing oil on a McLaren. If you do it on schedule, the engine will not explode. Rinse, roll, harvest month after month, turning laser-eyed chaos into a very predictable paycheck. The bottom line is that BlackRock is going to convert Bitcoin's adrenaline-fueled roller coaster into a boomer-friendly income ride. You're going to keep most of the upside, trade a sliver of it for cash, and everyone sleeps better, except the guy who bought those calls right before the next parabolic candle. But that is why we are not degenerate gamblers, folks. So now it's time to talk cash flow, ladies and laser-eyed gentlemen. This is my prediction. If you run the 2024 to 25 volatility through a covered call meat grinder, I think that you could get an annualized 6 to 10% distribution range in somewhat a boring sideways market. As of lately, at least, so that is roughly twice the S&P 500 dividend yield and roughly equal to the interest on your ex-roommate's charges when you're late on rent every single month. And remember, this is a projection, not a promise. If Bitcoin decides to do a Michael Jordan vertical leap, the yields might compress a little bit, but your net asset value moons. So this could be a choose-your-own adventure where every ending is at least interesting. When it comes to the payout frequency, I think it'll probably be a monthly dopamine drip because BlackRock knows retirees mark their calendars like it's bingo night. So expect a monthly payout cadence. They're copy-pasting the schedule that made QYLD a cult hero among income junkies. QYLD spits 13-ish% and grandpa never misses a tea time. I think this is going to be the same rhythm, but a different asset. Now it's digital scarcity funding your Costco runs. When it comes to tax treatment, Uncle Sam gets a taste. These distributions are going to show up as short-term gains, obviously, because option premium is cruel like that. So ordinary income tax rates will apply so your CPA can get himself a new boat, but BlackRock might try to minimize the drag with tax lot voodoo, selling the highest basis coins first, harvesting losses when possible, but don't kid yourself, the IRS still gets its tribute. So a reality check when it comes to Bitcoin volatility. Could the yields dip below 6% in a monster bull market? Absolutely sure. Could it spike past 10 during a crabby chop where Bitcoin flatlines at 120K? Also yes. The beauty is that you're going to get paid to endure the volatility that tourists hate. Think of it as hazard pay for surviving the laser-eyed roller coaster. There is a huge market out there for people willing to trade a slice of their moonshot upside for a fat monthly paycheck because even cypherpunks have utility bills. I think that this is going to be an incredibly popular product for the MSTY-like investors, for people who are holding IBIT but want a monthly paycheck. This is going to be a monster vehicle, I'm telling you. So yes, it will print yield, but only if it survives its own volatility, and here is the armor plating. Number one, there is CME clearing protection, which is the moat around the option pit. Every covered call funnels through the CME clearing, Wall Street's version of a full-body X-ray and a metal detector. Daily margining, counterparty netting, collateral haircuts. It's basically the TSA but for derivatives with fewer latex gloves. If some hedge fund cowboy blows up, CME grabs his collateral before he can ghost you on Telegram. Cold storage security, deep freeze, deep sleep. BlackRock tucks the coins into a segregated air-gapped cold wallet that require more key shards than the Triforce. Auditors are going to swing by, they're going to count the Satoshis, sign their report, and leave the fingerprints on the steel door. The trust document promises the same regime, and nothing says institutional like hardware wallets entombed in nuclear-grade bunkers. Now, a prediction: there could be upside preservation. There could be an overwrite ratio capped at roughly 50%. That is the governor on the yield engine, enough so the option flowing can fund your lobster dinners, but not so much that you're going to miss Bitcoin's next jailbreak. In a face-melting rally, half of the coins might be still free to sprint, so you don't end up hate tweeting about volatility decay like a TVIX bag holder. And then I think that you should just expect your quarterly attestations pushed to the public, copy-pasting IBIT's transparency playbook. So when is this going to be available? Let's look at the regulatory timeline to know when to expect this thing. Checkpoint number one is September 25th, 2025. BlackRock opened the Delaware Trust, the paperwork stamped, the filing fee paid, lawyers popped their non-alcoholic champagne. So right now, this is the only date that has been carved into granite. Checkpoint number two, I think, is going to be in mid-October 25 when the S1 and the 19B4 blast off into Edgar. Why mid-October? Because Larry's IR team wants the 75-day clock to hit zero before New Year's Eve bonuses are calculated. This is the financial engineer equivalent of timing your Roth conversion. Checkpoint 3 will be late December 25 to probably early January 26. This is my prediction, thanks to that 75-day fast track rule. I think that we could see the SEC clearance right as the holiday eggnog curdles. That warp speed compared to the Jurassic 270-day process that just killed hope in prior cycles. And then checkpoint number 4 will be the 1 month post-launch prediction. Assuming the rings align, the first cash distribution will probably hit 30-ish days after the listing. Just enough time for investors to brag at cocktail parties, then receive a Bitcoin-funded rent check before the February credit card bills arrive. So the bottom line, only the Delaware Trust date is gospel as of now. Everything is an informed crystal ball reading from the Bitcoin Wizard, but the SEC has finally swapped out dial-up internet for fiber optic, thank God. So the odds of hitting these targets are higher than funding an Alt L1 with SoftBank money. We'll keep hitting F5 to refresh while also sending Gary Gensler a holiday fruit basket. Goodbye, Gary. Good riddance. This is the competitive landscape and the market impact. We're going to talk about who's on the board, who's on the bench, and why Larry's new toy is going to change the game. This is the Clash card from your favorite video game, only the weapons are ETFs and the loot is retirement income. So we have IBIT, the heavyweight champ of pure Bitcoin beta, $84 billion in spot Bitcoin, zero yield, all upside torque. IBIT is the Rocky Balboa of crypto ETFs, taking every punch that the market is throwing at it, but still standing. Which IBIT is great for adrenaline junkies, absolutely, but it is terrible for anyone who wants a monthly check to pay their HOA fees. QYLD is the granddaddy yield farm that we all know about. We love it. 13.7% trailing yield on the NASDAQ 100, a buffet of premium income that boomers chew like Tums. $8 billion in assets proves that the covered call model does sell even when its underlying tech stocks behave like toddlers on Red Bull. And now we're going to have the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, the hybrid monster, a Bitcoin covered call engine, yielding probably 6 to 10% in neutral markets, which is speculative for now, but entirely plausible. If Larry delivers that yield without turning the performance into ground beef, this fund is going to bridge the canyon between the high octane Bitcoin performance and steady income. So imagine IBIT and QYLD had a little baby wearing laser eyes and a pensioner's cardigan. I think with mid-single digit yield, a minimal tracking drag, and massive brand credibility, this combo is going to hoover up at least $5 billion starting in 2026. Once retirees realize that they can fund shuffleboard games with Satoshi-powered dividends, every advisor with a pulse will carve a slice out of their bond sleeve. There is a narrative shift, folks. Bitcoin is eating the legacy finance system. Bitcoin is no longer a volatile science experiment. It is starting to look like a legitimate income asset. The phrase yieldless digital gold is exiting stage left. From this point forward, any asset allocator who still uses that phrase will look like someone arguing Netflix still mails DVDs. This is the future, taking Bitcoin, wrapping it up for different investors of different risk profiles. This is the future and there's no going back. We are living in the greatest wealth transfer in the history of humanity. Legacy finance is being transformed and I want you to be here with me every step of the way. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Adam Livingston. I am the Bitcoin Wizard. If you like this content, please like this video and subscribe to the channel to help me spread the orange gospel to the masses. Have a terrific day and do not party too hard, my dearest little captains. Class dismissed.